lot of our customers ask what's better, paper or plastic bags for their shops. Tish, what do you think?
Yeah, so there's quite a few different things to consider. I think the first, well, we might as well run through the points. There's reusability, so how often you can reuse it, and then end of life, so what happens to it at the end, and has the government got enough provision to actually, for consumers like me and you, to actually dispose of the product. How it's made at source, so what energy it's using, what materials, recycled, non-recycled, and then finally also what it's going to be used for. So is it going to be a mailing bag, is it a bag to take your shopping away from the supermarket, then you have to consider waterproofing and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you think about going right back to source when a bag's actually made?
It's such a difficult one really, because paper uses so many more sort of chemicals and gases, I guess, to actually have the bags made.
I think it's 4 times the amount for a paper bag than plastic, isn't it? So
yeah.
It's a lot of more energy.
Yeah, exactly. But then they can be sort of obviously disposed of a lot easier and broken down, and then so less harmful in the sort of end of life. And then obviously with plastic, you've got they're a lot sort of more eco-friendly to make, but then if we've got the right provisions in place to actually dispose of them at the end of their life.
Yeah.
And you can reuse a plastic bag a lot more than a paper bag as well. So it's the reusability factor again of that.
Yeah, I think if we focus on reusability, I think plastic is definitely better from the point of view which often holds more weight, and so especially if you've got heavy garments, you're generally going to be better off with a plastic bag. That said, paper bags are getting stronger if you can use like virgin material, so FSC accredited sources. Recycled typically isn't as strong because the actual strands of paper have been broken down. When it's been recycled, it's been cut up again and again and again. That said, recycled is great. Obviously, the more we can recycle, the better. It's a circular economy. But I do think you have to be careful with recycled, because the demand for recycled is almost growing past what we can recycle. So everyone wants recycled products, and then suddenly you get to the point where there isn't enough. People aren't recycling enough at the end to be able to bring it back to the beginning. And that is actually the case with plastic as well, because I think some of the factories, especially in the Far East, have to be really careful that they're using post-consumer waste and not necessarily post-industrial waste is alright in its own sphere, but are they claiming it to be post-consumer or misleading the customer when it's actually post-industrial?
Yeah, it is a very sort of tricky and a bit of a minefield really. So I understand why people get so muddled with what is the best way to go.
Yeah, and do you know why plastic bags were actually invented to start with?
I don't think I do.
No, it literally were invented to stop paper or trees being cut down, basically. So we've gone full circle, and now we're trying to stop paper and cut down more trees. So alongside like standard virgin plastic, what other plastic products, bags are there out on the market?
There's quite a few different options really, but I do get asked quite a lot about biodegradable, because a lot of people assume that it's actually a really good way of doing things, but actually it's more harmful to the environment than good. There's an extra chemical added to the polymers, which then breaks down into microplastics, which then is actually really harmful to the environment. So it's not actually as good as people might think.
I know, and it's something that as a company we tend to steer customers away from, isn't it? 'Cause there's so much better options. I think one of the options is compostable, which is a good one, typically made from cornstarch or potato starch, and there is manufacturers in the UK and Far East as well, so that's quite a good option, and typically breaks down into nothing.
And that's what we want.
And as long as you're using water-based ink, which is a really important point, if you're using a solvent-based ink, typically it can leave residue in the soil, which is a microplastic as well. But if you're using a water-based ink on a compostable bag, basically once it's in the soil, there's pretty much nothing. And we had one of our customers actually said the other day that one of their customers had said they'd put it in the compost bag or compost heap or whatever it is they have, and it had started to degrade already within a few weeks, so it shows it does work.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that's quite important is what reflects on your brand. So if you're maybe a high-end retailer, you might be wanting to look at a paper bag, but if you're a garden centre or something, maybe cornstarch or a plant-based bag is actually quite a good option because it fits with what you're doing. Another quite important point when you're looking at compostable, biodegradable is government regulations, because
yeah, sure.
don't know what recycling is like around your way, but or how good you are at recycling.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of areas, we're actually really good where I live, there's a lot of, you can put everything in together and we've got good sorting machines, but a lot of areas in the UK, they don't have the kind of facilities to be able to recycle things, and that's why a lot of, at supermarkets you see those big bins, don't you?
Yeah.
And you can take your plastic bags there to be industrially recycled, but I think the question is how do people actually do that?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't necessarily have the time to do it.
Speaking for myself, you can just be quite lazy, can't you, and put it in the bin, so I think we need to consider when you're looking at bags, what provision is there across the UK to make it easy for people to look at end-of-life solutions.
So really, in conclusion, actually, there isn't really a right or wrong.
No, I know.
And there's so many sort of pros and cons to each option, so it really depends on personal preference and personal perception, I guess.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that cut through the greenwashing, so make sure your customers are aware why you're doing something. If you've gone for the plastic, then maybe put on the bottom of the bag it's made from recycled content. You can dispose of it here, it will break down there. Bit of education, and then again, if it's paper, do the same thing. I think it's just really important that the message is clear across the board.